So, what are some of the other issues that you all see regarding Latin America and the Caribbean that really don't get talked about?
I would say, like, there was a video that I watched, and it was like about like the experience of being Hispanic or Latinx, but it was addressing how there's like a racial hierarchy in the States. So when they like immigrate to America, they don't really fit if they're not Black or Afro-Caribbean and they're not like Spanish. They don't really have a place to fit, and so I've kind of dealt with that as well too. In a sense, like, do I identify more with being Black in America or being Caribbean or Jamaican? Because there are not a lot of people who relate to that experience. In central Pennsylvania, which is essentially where I'm from. I was born in New Jersey, but moved here when I was 2 to State College. So I would say it here in State College, I find more belonging with Black and African Americans than I do Caribbeans, just because there aren't a lot of Caribbeans here.
Okay. And then it's harder once people see that you're Black. So that's one of the other issues. Like here, take a look at this. Like in Latin America, right? Just in Latin America, 32 to 40%, somewhere in there, people in Latin America identify as white, right? And in a place like Uruguay, that's probably 98%. And in a place like Peru, it's probably about 5%. In Guatemala or Honduras or El Salvador or in El Salvador, it maybe be like 1 or 2%, right, that would identify as white. So you're up against that racial hierarchy. So how about the two of you? So I see you, like your face here. I don't know if you can like really see John's face, but like I see indigenous features, right? So you have Indian blood. Like, I see it in your eyes. I can see it in your nose, right? Yeah. Not a lot, but you definitely have Indian blood, right? I can see it with you. I don't see it with you, but I see it with you. I see like a little bit of Indian blood, but the two of you, mostly people see you as white. How is that in the racial hierarchy of Latin America? Like you're white people. How do you navigate that? Just being white. Because you are in the United States, all 4 of you are minorities, okay? So all 4 of you are minorities. You start to get less of a minority, but you're a quarter minority. You're half a minority because Italians aren't minority. You're minority, like you're all of minoritized status, but like you're white and you look white. So how do you navigate that? Or do you? Do you have a foothold into that? You don't have to, but I'm just wondering, do you think about it? How often do you think about it?
I mean, like I mentioned before, like most of my relatives are of like a tanner complexion, but my mom is a fair complexion. And since I'm not that well versed with Spanish, my family members like joke around and call me gringa, like white girl. So I feel like that's the only like challenge I would like come across in regards to that. Okay, got you.
So we're still in this hierarchy, right? Of who's allowed to claim some kind of minoritized status. I mean, we see it with everybody, right? I mean, this is a thing that we're dealing with all the time. Like, who gets to be the minority, right? Like, how Black do you have to be Black, right? How Asian do you have to be Asian? Right? How connected do you have to be? Like, where are you at a certain level? Hey, I'm going to jump off this for a second. I just want to ask, how does being Hispanic or Latino or Latina or Afro-Caribbean, how does it impact your lives?
I think a big part of like any culture would be like the food and the music and like language or like the vernacular that you use. So I think that would make the most difference, like for me, being Jamaican.
Wait, the vernacular? What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't like the different vocabulary words that you would use, like in Jamaica, in Jamaica you'd say wagwan, like to initiate or speak patois in certain parts of the island.
Can you do the patois? Can you do the dialect?
No.
Yeah?
No.
Have you ever tried?
No.
Okay. All right.
But personally, I love Caribbean and Jamaican food. Like, I say plantains, like plantain. Rather, some cultures say like plantain.
Uh-huh.
I say plantains. So I cook those all the time at home, or having rice and beans, rice and peas, or stuff like that. And then the music that I'll listen to usually gravitates toward like soul, reggae, bachata, like stuff like that.
Dude, awesome, man. Awesome. How about somebody else? Sebastian, how about you? Like, how does it make a difference to your life?
Yeah, I was also going to say that, like, the food and the music are definitely, like, two things that, like, have a big foothold in my life. Also, the aspect of, like, the majority of my family is in Latin America, so, like, I don't get to visit them often because, like, it's expensive. But, like, the rare occasion that I do, it's always, like, I don't know, it's like a very, I don't know, I can't really describe the experience, but it's nice because you go somewhere and, like, even though you're not really, like, accustomed to that culture, they, like, treat you as if you were kind of.
As
because,
if you
like,
are.
You know, it's just like you're going to your cousin's house.
Yeah,
So it's just like,
totally.
So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty.
No,
it's
totally.
pretty cool.
No, cool, man. No, very cool. No, because this is the thing, right? See, Europeans lost that, right? Like, those of you who identify as European American, like, you lose that. If we go back, 60 and 70 years, the Europeans really held on to that. It mattered if you were German or Hungarian or Italian, or French or English or Irish. Like, it mattered, or Polish. Like, people really held on to that, and people were connected to those cultures. But at some point in time, the more you move away from the culture, the more you lose it, and the more, it's like there's a way in which there's this kind of sense of, it's a sense of loss of this connection with all these parts of the world that are, like, really, it's quite awesome, actually. How about you? What's it, just, this is going to be the final thing, and then I'm going to go in a different direction. How does it mean for your life to be, like, Salvadoran?
I've visited El Salvador, like, numerous times, so I've definitely been exposed to, like, the culture over there, like, with the food and the music. And being Latina, I've had a quinceañera, the Sweet 15 birthday party, so that's been, like, another, like, Hispanic, like, aspect, like, incorporated into my life. So yeah.
I think it's, like, really cool because not every day you can go out to someone and say, I'm not Spanish, I'm Peruvian. It's like kind of like a curveball at them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely just like the different foods that you get to eat and experience by being Peruvian. One of them is definitely like anticuchos, which is it's beef heart. You wouldn't expect it to be beef heart, but it's beef heart, and it's okay.
So for you, it's just part of everything of who you are.
Yeah, it's definitely that. Like at home, like my parents would always like switch on and off who's cooking. My mom would stick towards like the Spanish side of foods, and my father would stick towards the Italian side of foods.
So, okay. So final thing, like when we think about in this country, like we have this idea that everybody who's a minority group is discriminate. We link it with discrimination, with less power, with somehow like one down or less than or something. There's like a problem, right? It's like, minorities have some problems. They have some issues that they're dealing with constantly. And like, I'm not getting that from you all, right? From you all, I'm getting like, no, this is a really cool part of my identity. And like, okay, awesome, man.
I think like for me at least though, there like is a reason for that, like being white and like not having an accent. Like it's just
for
like,
sure.
I don't really like. I don't think.
No, you don't come up against it in the same way.
And I think that may also, like thinking back on it now, like that may also have been why I like have struggled in the past to like fully embrace that side of myself.
But the issue is, so many people can speak, just here in the U.S., can speak English and do speak English without any dialect or accent. And yet they still go to this place of denial of what their backgrounds are. Just like those of you who are, unlike Connor up here, but those of you who could trace your ancestry to your European background, but you just don't, because you don't get around to it, because this is not part of who you are and what you are. And we lose that. And I think part of what I think a class like this is really to make that connection and stuff.